Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. We are so excited to have Octavia here today with us. She is the founder and CEO of Say Yes to Profits. And who doesn't want to say yes to profits, right? And her firm helps businesses make more money and profits and how to pay less taxes. Because as a small business owner or entrepreneur, we always want to pay less taxes. So that is very exciting. That's tied in with your programs and that you incorporate that within your field. So I'm very excited to get to know you, your business, and see how we can help our audience with topics like making more profit. Now, at Yegi Beauty and at the Yegi Project, we are not afraid to talk about money, since we do know that ultimately we do have to make money in order to stay in business. And I'm excited that you are someone who has the same beliefs and are on board to help people achieve that. Now, before I jump into my questions for you, please tell everybody a little bit about you and what your company does.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. Well, as you said, I'm Octavia. I am the CEO of Say Yes to Profits, and I am a virtual CFO for consultants, service-based business owners, and entrepreneurs who desire to cross the $1 million mark sooner than they think. My company.
We all want to cross that right away.
Absolutely, right? So Say Yes to Profits is a full service accounting firm. We provide bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, accounts payables, receivables, things like that has to be done. But unlike your traditional accounting firm, we combine financial coaching and consulting with our services. So we really help our clients leverage their numbers, their finances to scale faster. And that's basically what we do. And typically over 90% of our clients grow anywhere between 30% and 350 within 12 months and save about 60% in business taxes.
Very impressive. Actually, that's a huge growth rate. Very impressive. So I'm excited to learn more and what advice you have for fellow entrepreneurs. So what is the best part about being in this business or even being an entrepreneur for you?
For me, the best part is working with my clients. I love numbers, and I love showing my clients how to love the numbers and how to use the numbers to their advantage. So when a client receives an aha moment, that's awesome to me. Like, that gives me the warm and fuzzy feeling because they're really starting to see the growth of their company just by focusing on what the numbers are telling them.
And that's exciting because when they grow, you grow and then the clients are happier. So it's like a win-win for everybody. So awesome. And what would you say maybe would be the worst part about being an entrepreneur?
The worst part about being an entrepreneur is the fact that you have to really realize that everything is on you, right? As you build a team, you're still the CEO of the company. And it's all going to fall on your shoulders, on your back. You're going to be blamed.
Oh, I know that feeling.
That's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. But, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it in the end when you achieve whatever your desired level of success is.
So share a little bit more about your background and how you ended up doing the Say Yes to Profits.
Well, I have been in the accounting industry for about 20 years now. I started literally right out of high school, went to college for it, climbed the corporate ladder, and I became a CFO for a large pharmaceutical company. And honestly, I just got to the point where I was bored. In corporate accounting, for me, you just do the same thing over and over and over again for me. And I was bored. I still loved accounting, but just that same thing over and over just kind of got tired. I felt like I was in a box every day. I would go to my office, and I was like, there has to be something else better for me. And I started to pray and seek guidance, and my sister was expanding her business, and she needed a bookkeeper part-time. And I started working with her. Nice. And that's when I was bit by the entrepreneur bug. And it was a game changer mentally for me, because I started working with her and started giving her things to do and telling her different strategies and things like that. And her business took off even more. And I was like, if I can do this for her, I can do this for myself and others. And I jumped out there as a full-time entrepreneur soon after that.
Nice. So what is one challenge that you had to overcome throughout this process that initially you might have thought that, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it or do it as an entrepreneur?
Great question. Honestly, money mindset. Your money mindset is key to achieving whatever level of success that you desire, whatever that money level is. So really having to overcome that and understand and figure out what it takes to be a CEO, because there's a difference between, an everyday, quote unquote entrepreneur or hobby, and that of a CEO. They operate differently. And I had to really understand the difference between those. So I would say your money mindset and your mindset as a whole was the biggest obstacle and challenge for me.
So what would that difference be between the two, as you explained? What were the few things that stood out to you that was the difference in order for you to make that shift to be the CEO?
So one of the things where when you're working in a corporate job, you have that direct deposit every 2 weeks, bi-monthly, however, like, it's coming, right? You're on a salary. It's coming regardless. As an entrepreneur, it's not coming until you put forth the work to make sure that it's going to happen. And then when it comes, you have to manage it correctly, because if you don't, then you'll have money coming in, but it'll go out faster than you think. So you'll be in this feast or famine mode. So I really had to gain control of the money that was coming into the business and manage it as a CEO. And then I really had
a good money manager on top of everything.
Exactly. Key. That's exactly what I had to do. I had to really be a great money manager for myself. And the crazy thing about it is that I was doing this for other business owners, but I wasn't managing the money that the company was earning. So I actually went through a period that I call the broke, busted, and disgusted period. In my,
I like that. We all go through it.
Yeah, we definitely do. And it can be challenging. I tell you, it can be very hard. And I had to come out of that. My story didn't stop there, right? I experienced a great breakthrough, but that was the challenge. Really managing the money and operating like a CEO. Like, what would a CEO do from the start of the business to the end of the business, the end of the day, right? What decisions would they make? How would they handle different situations? How would they act in a room full of people that are on the 10th level and they're just on the 2nd level? So I really had to work on all of that.
For yourself, was there any time, a point where you really were doubting yourself and you were just in debt or afraid that, like, this is not right? What am I doing?
Yes. In this industry, it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of a room and tell others who may be at a totally different level how to manage their money, right? So that can bring about a lot of self-doubt if you don't work on your confidence and work on your craft and become an expert at what you do. I've doubted myself a lot over the years until I got to the point where I had to stand flat-footed in who I was called to be and what I was called to do, and make sure that I spend time learning how to be the CFO for $1 million and beyond business.
That's excellent. So the key would you say is to make sure that you get the education and the practice and the tools that you need to have the confidence, right? So in order to be able to do what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And you continue to educate yourself. Like, it doesn't stop once you feel, you've gotten a certain certification or what have you. You still continue to build on your education and expertise.
Do you still until today take new classes or new certification programs to make sure you're on top of what you're doing?
Absolutely. Every single year, one of the things I do is take a tax class directly from the IRS.
Changes.
Exactly. And then if there are, sometimes you can find others that are at a higher level than you, and they're willing to teach, whether that is a program or a course or something that they have. And if I find that, and after doing the research, I feel like it's worth investing in, I will do it without any hesitation.
Yes, it's definitely an investment and not money you're just spending to spend. So I'm a big believer of education and investing in myself with time and knowledge, because that's one thing that we're never gonna lose, right? We're feeding our brains, and even if that information doesn't directly, let's say somehow it doesn't directly apply to what we're currently doing, you're still fine-tuning your brain muscles and learning more and developing. And I think that's really what has been a game changer for me too. Like, I'm always interested to learn new things, even if it may not seem like it's exactly what I'm going to apply to my industry, right? So I'm very happy you're an encourager of that as well. But before I ask too many other questions, I'm very excited to know about one of the topics that you talk about and you teach people about is the money moves, right? You have a signature topic called money moves, and it talks, or you teach people how to get into the six-figure cash flow. And that's what I want to know. I want to know your advice and how, like, let's start from the very basics. I'm too excited, but let's talk about cash flow. So what is cash flow in a business?
So cash flow is all forms of money entering and exiting the company, right? So cash in could be in the form of revenue. It could be owner's investments, grants, loans. Those are ways that money will enter the business. And cash going out of the business could be payments, expenses. It could be loans payment, owner's draws or distributions. Those are the many ways that cash leave the business. So when you think about cash flow, you want to really understand all ways that money is entering and exiting your business. And as I tell my clients all the time, cash is your business's superpower, right? And you can't operate without your superpower. And profit is how you keep score in business. But cash is the game changer.
So can you give a little bit more about why cash flow is so important? Because a lot of times too, as entrepreneurs, we look at profits, or we want to make sure we're making money, of course, but sometimes we forget, and then we can get in trouble with our cash flow. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. This is the part that I love. So you can generate a profit, right? You can have a profit at the bottom of your profit and loss statement. You can generate a profit in business and still have no money in the bank. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs, right, exactly. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in trouble, right? And you can have money in the bank and cash flow and not generate a profit. The goal is to say yes to profits as well as have a positive cash flow at all times.
And what are some ways people can make sure, I know it's probably more complicated of an answer, but what are some easy ways people can make sure of this? Just like an overview.
So one of the ways is to create a budget for your company as well as a cash flow forecast. So a budget is basically looking at your revenue and your expenses and what you plan or think you're going to bring in revenue and what is going to go out as a plan for your expenses. That's just revenue and expenses. Your cash flow forecast is where you're forecasting the next 13 weeks or 90 days in advance. So literally you're sitting down with an Excel spreadsheet or Google sheet or paper, and you're saying, this is all of the monies in every form that's going to come in the business. This is all of the ways money is going to leave the business. If this comes in and that goes out for this week, that week, and the next week up to 13 weeks, this is what my cash balance will be. So you're looking at what is the ending balance after identifying every way money is going to come in and every single way money is going to go out. When you do that, you spot money leaks and ways that you're leaving money on the table and any other money shortages before they happen, because you're looking 13 weeks in advance.
Yes, I feel like this is something people need to be doing in their personal lives too in order to manage their money. Because like you said, a lot of times I have noticed people, it comes time to when the rent is due, even for service providers who rent their space, they realize, oh boy, it's that time of the month and I don't have enough money to pay my rent. But throughout the month, they've been spending on other things that might have not been as much of a priority if they've done the planning and the budgeting and really like took a look at their cash flow. So that is really great advice. And honestly, I feel like I can improve that aspect of it too, because as people and as entrepreneurs, we think we're really good planners, but at the same time, we're also very spontaneous. I feel like that's a personality of an entrepreneur. So it's a good reminder for people to really like sit down and look at your numbers. Don't obsess over them maybe, but look at your numbers and know where you're going before, like you said, before you get in trouble.
Yes.
Now, what is the number one method of identifying and improving the financial health of a business? So I have my business, it's been running, I know I'm making some money, but what if I were to want to look at my books, or how would I identify the health of my business? How do I know, am I running a good business or is this like not good?
The number one way is to look at your balance sheet. So oftentimes business owners will only focus on the profit and loss statement. They're only looking at revenue. They're only looking at the expenses. But if you look at your balance sheet will tell you if your company is healthy or not. Your balance sheet consists of your assets, your liabilities, and your owner's equity, right? If you have more money going out in liabilities than you do in assets, then you're operating your business upside down. In a lot of cases, that means you have more debt. And you have more debt than money in the bank, than you have in assets. So you want to look at your balance sheet and make sure that you have more in assets than you do in liabilities. Like if you do have business loans or credit cards or things like that, you want to have 2 times as much sitting in assets than you have in owing that amount of money back.
Yes, because it can be misleading, I guess, for people to look at the money that they have, but they don't look at all the debt they also might have and how it may overwrite their profits. Then, they're not really profitable or they're not in a good financial health, and it's going to catch up to them in the long run. And I think that's actually, now that you pointed out, that is a very simple way of putting it, because initially, if you were to ask me that question, I start thinking about so many different things, but that is one simple way of putting it from an accountant's point of view. Or if somebody was even to invest in your business or buy your business, that's what they would be looking at, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. So my next question for you, a lot of our listeners are in the beauty business, which involves spending money on training, supplies, and marketing from the very beginning. What advice would you give to someone in the beauty business or any service provider on how to manage the cash flow from the beginning?
I would definitely say make sure that you have a solid financial foundation, right? So you want to make sure that you have an accounting system in place. I call this assemble your money system, and your accounting system needs to be accurate, up to date, and reliable at all times. Like at a click of a button, you should be able to know where you stand. You should know who owes you money, who you need to invoice. You should know what came in, what went out, what your loan balances, your credit card balances, and all other financial information you need to make key business decisions. So the very first thing and most important thing would be to establish a solid financial foundation by having an accurate, reliable accounting system.
So for somebody who's starting new and they don't know much about all of this accounting, accounting in a way to take charge or control of their numbers, what would you advise them? Like, how can they start if they don't have a lot of money to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper? Is it affordable even for programs like the ones you have for them to kind of start off with, right? Because that's the main problem with new entrepreneurs. They want to do everything correctly. First, I might not know where to start, but second is they think, or they're a lot of times their mindset is not on spending more money in order to start properly. You know, it's more like, okay, how can I save money and spend as least as possible to get my business off the ground? So what advice would you give to that new entrepreneur?
I would still say have a solid accounting foundation, but that doesn't mean that they have to go out and hire the most expensive bookkeeper, accountant, or CFO. They can honestly start this themselves. There are a lot of online trainings that they could take to use an accounting software such as QuickBooks or Xero or any other accounting software out there. They can do training in order to know how to enter the information. The reason why I want to highlight training is because garbage in, garbage out. So if they enter the information in the accounting system wrong, it's going to produce wrong results and wrong financials. So I would definitely say, if they're not in a position to hire someone, take some training courses. YouTube have several courses on how to use QuickBooks Online and Xero and the other accounting systems. Take some training courses and then start by establishing the accounting system themselves. And then when they get in the position to hire someone, hire someone.
Awesome. And do you have any trainings like that teaches somebody how they can kind of do all of that themselves?
Yes. So on my YouTube channel, I have several videos that I've done on how to use QuickBooks Online.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that's easy enough for people to check out. And we will link all her information below for our listeners who are interested to take the next step. But all in all, great advice. And as somebody who has done it and started from nothing and had no money, and I was also in a lot of debt when I started, this advice I wish I had when I started. And although I did go to business school and I have a little bit background in accounting, actually my degree's in accounting, but I never really practiced it. It is still different in practice, and the advice that she's giving is gold. So I would really encourage everybody to, if you are starting out fresh or considering it, do that from the beginning and have a good understanding of what these words mean, like the cash flow, the balance sheet, because as an entrepreneur too, even when it comes time to do your taxes, my experience in the past years has been that I'm really stressed out because there's all these things that are thrown at me and all these numbers, and this is how I'm doing. Great, I'm making money. But if I didn't have that foundation or knowledge of what these things mean, it really was stressing me out in the beginning until I learned about it. And now it's nice to have these conversations and have more control over my money. And I really think that one key thing, my mentality is that if you don't manage your money, it will manage you. I've heard that in the past too, right? So if we're not doing these things, then we're gonna end up being managed by our money. But if we do know what our numbers look like, even in our personal life, then we're going to be able to manage that money before anything else. And that's a key factor of being successful in life and in business, from my experience. So I love that goes hand in hand with what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to add in regards to that?
No, that's the start. That's the start of it. And that's an ongoing task that should be done. Again, whether it's by the business owner themselves or they eventually hire someone, that is key to really managing your money, growing your company. Yes, starting with that accounting foundation.
Okay, and you've also, in your signature topic 1 called Money Moves, you also talked about 3 strategies to gain financial clarity and control and consistently increase your cash flow. Now, I want to know more about that. How do I consistently increase my cash flow, right? Because as a business owner, you don't want to be stagnant, and especially during these times, it's been very unstable with profits. Like it's go up and down, and the market is going up and down. So we are a little worried about cash flow as us entrepreneurs. So what is some way that we can try to at least work on consistently increasing our cash flow?
So there are several different things that can happen. So I'll give a few, right? I would definitely start, of course, like I said, with that solid financial foundation. But once that is in place, you want to make sure that you sort your Benjamins, right? So it's establish a financial foundation. Under that is assemble your money system. Again, that's the accounting. Sort your Benjamins means identify the purpose of each bank account that you're going to have and identify where the money is going to go and why when it enters your business. Once you do that, you got to declare financial peace. Like you have to understand the financial position that you're in and decide what is it going to be. Like where do you see yourself the next 12 months from today? What will your money look like? What will your profits be? And where will your cash flow be? When you've identified that, you work backwards to make sure that it's achieved. Once that is done, you have to really deep dive like into your pricing. And I often tell business owners, you have to price for profit. And can I tell you, that is a huge mistake that a lot of business owners make. They're not pricing their services and products for profit, so then they don't generate a profit. And then they have cash flow problems because even though they brought money in, more went out than actually came in to the business.
Yes, I could see that happening. Honestly, it is for me, anytime I look at the numbers, I'm like, really? That's how much it's costing me? Because a lot of times we don't look at the extra costs like shipping or, some marketing or any little cost that can add on to a product or a service. We don't take that into consideration. And we're like, wait, what happened? I made all this money, but where is it, right? So it's very, very great advice for people to start that from the beginning and before they hit what I hit in the past and be like, wait, like I'm making all this money, but what's happening? Where is it? It has been such a pleasure speaking with you, but for me, I'm very curious because there are a lot of accounting firms or accountants out there, and they're very specialized. They have amazing figures and promises that they make. However, I've never heard of anybody that's an accountant that's also kind of like a financial advisor. So what would you say that sets you apart at Say Yes to Profits?
Honestly, it is the way that we work with our clients, right? So anybody can do bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, payroll, things like that. But the way that we work with our clients is that if a client comes to me and says, Octavia, I want to earn $1 million this year, we're going to sit down with that client and strategize exactly how they are to get there. So perfect example, I was on a meeting right before our interview for 3 hours with a client. And that's exactly what she said. I want to cross the $1 million mark. So we sat down for 3 hours and we looked at her prices, her team makeup, her service outline, how many, services and products she needs to offer and at what price point in order to make $1 million and win. We looked at her cash flow, her budget, and so many other things. And in the end, she had what we called a Say Yes to Profits plan. And the plan outlined how she will earn $1 million by 2023. And the goal is for her to earn $500,000 by 2022. And she has the action items. And that's what sets us apart.
I love that so much, because I am a huge believer in having very clear, straightforward plan and step-by-step goals in order to achieve them. So, and I've never been able to work with an accountant like that in the past, honestly. So this sounds like gold to me. It's like, oh, they care enough that they're going to sit there with me. Because usually when you're an entrepreneur, we feel alone sometimes because nobody is really there to do that part of it with you. Is you're the one as the head honcho that needs to make these decisions and come up with exactly what you want to do, especially if you're a small business owner. You may not have like a huge advising team. So knowing that you can do those two things, and because they do come hand in hand, it sounds like gold. So congratulations to you for accomplishing that for your clients.
Thank you. I care about my clients' success. Like we win when our clients win. Right? And I tell all of my clients, I want you to do a video at some point where you looked at your bank account and you have 6 figures in your bank account and you're earning 7 figures or something like that. So we have to make it customized to fit the client's needs while also making sure they're in compliance with the IRS and things like that. So we combine them both together. Awesome. And I think that's why my clients grow faster.
Awesome. Well, that will definitely set you apart. Before we conclude our interview, is there any last words of encouragement you want to give to our young or our new entrepreneurs that really want to say yes to profits and grow their business, or even take that leap of faith, having hope that they're going to be successful if they do start a business?
I would definitely say after you've gotten your systems together and gotten a handle, or start to get a handle on your finances and your money, I want you to make sure that you pay close attention, to your taxes. Because you can make a lot of money. Like I've seen business owners that have crossed the $1 million mark, right? That's 7 figures, and then have a 6-figure tax bill. So you want to make sure your business is set up to benefit you come taxes as well. You want to, as I call it, finesse the tax system. So you want to make sure that you legally and ethically reduce your business taxes. And it starts with having the right structure for your business, and then taking advantage of all of the tax rules, regulations, all of the tax deductions that are out there. You want to take advantage of them as a small business. Are there
few that you could mention? I'm sure our listeners are dying to know what are like few ones that is not a common known deduction or common known tax advice of how we can save more taxes.
So yes, so I must say I can't legally and ethically say I'm giving tax advice, but I can definitely tell you as a business owner, the right business structure will make or break you as far as taxes. Because if you're
like business structure.
So business structure meaning if you are an LLC, or if you are a sole proprietor, or if you are an LLC taxed as an S Corp, or if you are a C Corp. Depending on how much money you're earning and depending on what your profit results may be, will determine if you should be just a general LLC, which from the IRS eyes, from a federal level, is considered a disregarded entity, or if you should be an LLC taxed as an S Corp, or if you should be a C Corp. The benefit here is that if you are, let's say you're making a net profit of $30,000 plus annually, right? You probably need to consider being an LLC taxed as an S Corp because you at that time don't pay any taxes on your net profit. But if you are just a general LLC, you're going to pay upwards of 15.3% on that net profit amount. But if you're LLC taxed as an S Corp, again, you will more than likely pay zero. Yes. So you save on taxes.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, one last question. If you can do it all over again, as in starting your own business, what would you change? So if you had your brain now and you can go back and start over, what would you tell that new entrepreneur brain of yours?
I would say, girl, you got this. Don't give up on yourself. You're going to go through hard times, but just know that it is massive levels of success on the other side that you're going to achieve.
Awesome. I love that. I will do the same because we all have self-doubt when we're new and when we start. So that is very, very awesome to hear. Now, where can people find you?
So people can find me on YouTube as well as Instagram at Say Yes to Profits, as well as on Instagram at Octavia Conner CFO, and that's Conner with an ER.
Awesome. And again, we'll link all her information below. Check her out. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you, Octavia. I'm so honored to have you on our podcast. Such great advice. I love women entrepreneurs especially. So thank you again for your time. And I hope to connect with you soon in the future. But thank you again, and we will see you online.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.